Hello, Michael here from the Drawing Journey. Pardon the strange setup, the strange angle here. I am trying to keep my paper visible and my arm and shoulder because this will be the subject of today's video, how to draw from the shoulder. I put a video up a while ago with some exercises to practice drawing from the shoulder. But one of the responses on there was a guy saying that he wished some of these videos would show how to actually do it, how to actually draw from the shoulder, which is a really good point, right? I mean, if you don't know how to do it, then it's increasingly difficult to practice, right? So I will try and explain that today. My understanding of it, obviously, is the way I see it and the way I do it. I think one of the main points that I want to put across to begin with is don't overcomplicate it. It's not like you're only drawing from your shoulder. It is a natural movement where you are originating the movement from the shoulder, sort of pushing the arm primarily with the muscles from the shoulder, but also using the rest of the arm to accommodate the movement, right? So primarily the elbow will be moving a lot as you move across your paper, as I hope you can see here. In this case, I'm sort of, I'm pushing my arm forward with my shoulder, but my elbow moves to keep my hand on the paper, basically, right? And I also tend to anchor my hand on the paper, just loosely, just to have it sort of as a guide. I might put my pinky finger out like this. So this is in order, obviously, to have as much control as possible and just have the movement be as fluid and as deliberate as possible. If we look at it from sort of an analytical point, if you will, you can sort of look at your arm and say, I have basically 4 moving points, right? I have my fingers, my wrists, I have my elbow, and I have my shoulder. All of these come into play when I'm drawing, but if I move only my fingers, my range of motion is very limited, as you can see here, right? Same thing with the wrist. It's a little bit bigger, but again, very limited. Same thing with the elbow, a lot bigger, but still very limited. Whereas as soon as the shoulder comes into play, all of a sudden I'm free to move as big of a paper as I want. If I have a canvas in front of me, working on an easel or drawing on a wall, you can move up and about and go anywhere you want, right? So freedom and fluidity is, as I see it, the main reason why you want to draw from your shoulder. So if we go back to how to actually do it, as I said before, I'm originating the movement from my shoulder, adjusting the rest of my movable parts here accordingly. In general, for me, my wrist stays pretty stiff when I am doing bigger movements. The wrist really only comes into play, and the fingers also, when I get into the smaller movements, the very small details. And at some point, the fingers take over completely, the fingers and the wrists, if I'm, doing really small things. So that sort of fluidity is good to have when you're practicing this movement. And this is why some of these exercises are good that I showed in the previous video. I will be sure to put the link in the description below so you can go in and take a look at those. But let's see what it kind of looks like in sort of practical terms, right? So if I want to start out doing something simple, let's say I want to just do like a circle, just to reiterate, originating the movement from my shoulder, adjusting my elbow primarily, and anchoring my hand with my the soft part of my hand here, and also my pinky finger. And again, this kind of depends on what I'm doing, but in this case, this would be it. So ghosting my line a little bit, and then I sort of just go into drawing a bigger circle here, let's see, right? Something like this, right? Again, nice fluid movement. I'm not going too fast, but not too slow either, right? That's kind of the purpose of it, I think, is to get that fluid and flowing motion into your drawing hand, right? So if I want to do another small circle here, to make this into kind of a face. This is almost the same thing, right? The same amount of control from my shoulder. Even smaller circles here. And let's say here I want to do like a small reflection in this eye. In this case, here I am moving only my wrist and my fingers, right? And if I want to sort of fill out the black here, then it becomes primarily my hand and my fingers doing the movement. Same thing over here, right? So it's kind of a question of how big the motions are, and at least the way I understand it and the way I do it, it's most obvious when you're doing sort of bigger movements, you know, that you're moving and drawing from your shoulder. At some point, like I said, the hand takes over more. So I'd say if I want to go back to like doing like a mouth here, right? You can see these movements here. Again, very much from the shoulder. My wrist is very stiff. I'm having sort of a firm grip on my pencil. Never want to sort of clamp down on it. That's not going to be good for your wrist and your tendons and stuff. But sort of a firm grip just so you can control the pen, right? Let's do some teeth. Still very much from the shoulder. This masterpiece, as you can see, I think illustrates the point pretty well, right? I mean, the big motions, very much from the shoulder. When I get on into these small details as the reflections of the eyes here, it becomes less obvious. If I want to do like some shading, let's see here, on this nose, then all of a sudden I am very much using my wrist, right? Pardon me. So very much my wrist in this case. I can try and illustrate the point a little bit more with a couple of these exercises that I mentioned in the previous video. These are really great to do, by the way. If you're struggling with this, then please go do the exercises. That will help you tremendously. I will be sure to put the link in the description, obviously. One of them is this here small, you do with a small circle. You go into sort of a bigger circle. Small circle again. A bigger circle. And a small circle again. And then you go back, right? And you can go back and forth as much as you want. You can, you know, change directions. But the point is to constantly keep your hand on the paper. And when you're done, these should be somewhat on the same level. Also the top should be somewhat on the same level. And these three distances here should be relatively even, right? And that's the practice, and it's really great. So again, if I want to do like small lines, let's say I want to do something like this and just, you know, in this case here you can see that I am flicking my wrist, right? So this is a wrist movement. But if I want to do some bigger lines, let's say all the way across the paper here like this, right? Then back to the shoulder, you know, whichever way you want to do it. These big flowing motions is where it's really good to have a nice control of your pen originating from the shoulder, right? You can do circles and you can do squares as well, like triangles, you know, once, let's say, I do a small box here. So I hope this makes sense to you. I hope this explains it a little bit. I hope this helps. If not, please leave a comment in the comments section below. I will be sure to answer any questions that you might have to the best of my ability. I will also leave a full tutorial on my website, which is thedrawingjourney.com, Link will be in the description, as well as the link to the original video with the exercises, including this one here, but it has some more. I think there's 5 in all, really good exercises for practicing this principle. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Keep drawing, keep practicing, keep getting better. Bye bye.